Bonjour tout le monde. What's up, everybody? It is the F1 podcast. Andrew Cleary here, along with Jonathan Ricci. Fortunately, Erica cannot make it this week, but we are here to do our review of the French Grand Prix, where Max Verstappen capitalizes on another Ferrari mistake and wins the French GP with a double Mercedes podium, their first of the year. And, oddly enough, they're actually creeping up on P2 in the Constructors' Championship to Ferrari because of their blunder at the French Grand Prix. John, how are you doing, man? Are you okay?
You lose.
Hello, everyone. It's also a happy Wednesday. We're filming this a couple of days after the French Grand Prix, as Andrew mentioned, with Max Verstappen capitalizing on Ferrari's mistakes. It is tough to be a Ferrari fan. It's definitely not a 2020 season or a 2021. It's just that these are just these consistent mistakes that are really costing the team some valuable points. And obviously Charles Leclerc. I'm pretty sure we heard that scream, and I'm going to save everybody's ears and not put it into the pod this week for the sound bites. But I'm pretty sure Maranello heard that. I'm pretty sure the around the world heard that scream when Leclerc crashed. But yeah, it was a tough weekend for Ferrari. But obviously there's a lot to talk about this race. I don't know if the French Grand Prix is coming back again. I think there's discussions they're renewing, or this might be the last one. So I think it was, regardless, I think it was an entertaining race nevertheless. But it's just tough being a Ferrari fan, man.
It was haunting, put it that way.
Yeah. Well, especially with such a great qualifying on Tuesday with Carlos giving the toe for Leclerc to catch pole, and it is a pretty reliable car. When the car can be reliable, it clearly can compete with the Red Bulls, and we kind of saw that even in the race. Leclerc was able to capitalize when Verstappen was pitted. But yeah, Sunday scares, because I think this is I don't know if this is his Leclerc's sixth pole position this year, and he's not only. It's not a really good stat. I have to find
seventh pole.
Yes,
and he hasn't won on pole since Australia, the third race of the season.
Mm-hmm.
And
you lose.
The last 4 times he's been on pole, he's retired 3 times.
Yeah,
Spain, Azerbaijan, and a friend, at Paul Ricard, and then the second time, and then I guess the last pole, well, not really last pole, but of the 4, was the Monaco blunder, in which his team called him in again early and cost him a chance to win that race. So, but it's crazy, I have bad respect for Charles coming out after that race and telling everybody that, no, it's my fault. He says he's driving the best he has ever in his career, but it doesn't matter when he's making all these mistakes, and he knows he has to get better. That's, he's not blaming anybody. He's not blaming the car. He's not blaming the team. He's blaming himself, and he's taking accountability for his actions, which I find it hard to find sometimes in this sport. So props to Leclerc, and, I'm more of a fan of him today than I was before that race, because you can see the pain on his face, and he wants to get better. It's just, again, I hear that no. I can just hear that no right now in my head. Just all the frustration, just being let out into that one, 1 second. It was, you feel for the guy. Because not only to his fault, but to his team's fault, he's cost himself a lot of points. And now he's 63 points behind Max in the Drivers' Championship.
Mm-hmm. Going into Hungary too. And I know Hungary is definitely not going to be an easy track. We saw some magnificent racing last year with Ocon and Alonso. Battling Hamilton to secure that. And also just want to add that Alpine jumped McLaren this weekend in the constructors. So they're now sitting at 93 points. And, despite both McLarens getting into the points today, this weekend. They're at 89 points. So that was really interesting to see. But but yeah, back to Charles, and then we can go talk about a little other drivers that impressed us or did not impress us this weekend. He full on admitted, I think in one of the interviews, he's like, I don't deserve the world championship if I race like this. Hey guys, before we get into the fan questions, it is Ricci here. I just want to thank the following people for the questions this week. I think it was Mitch, I want to say Brett, and also the Drive to Describe F1 podcast. Really appreciate it. We did screw up on some of the people who asked the questions, but we wanted to make sure we got it right. So anyways, enough about me talking. Let's get right back into the pod. And I think I think one of the fan questions that I got, I think it was from Brett for my fantasies, who is the most pressured driver to go into Hungary? And I think all signs point to Leclerc, and just hopefully that he could be able to bounce back. And because like you said, like Max Verstappen is 60 something points ahead going into the summer break. And I know the summer can do anything, but we know that the Ferrari car can compete with the Red Bull car. We've seen it happen this year. It's just that the engine can blow up, or if it's hot heat, something can happen to the tires. You just need some consistency here.
Like, friend of the show, Tyler, is not going to like what I'm going to say right now, but I think if Ferrari had a reliable car, they would beat Red Bull on a consistent basis. It's proven, the team that's beating Ferrari this season is Ferrari.
Yeah.
It really is. It's coming down to their strategy, whether it's their reliability with their cars or whether it's driver mistakes. Like, it's just a constant circus show on Sundays. And they know the car's fast. Like, Leclerc has had 7 poles of the 12 races this season. Like, the car is quick, and they know they can get on. Like, look what he did in Austria, right? I know his car wasn't on pole, but he was he's like, okay. He knew that they weren't going to be able to win the sprint. Like, there was some tire deg on the Red Bull, but, through clean beat for Leclerc there on Verstappen. But they really haven't been able to race this much this year because of driver errors, strategy issues, and reliability issues that Ferrari have all caused themselves during these races.
Mm-hmm.
And as much as Sainz says it's not a clown show, it's becoming one. Especially when Sainz's race engineer doesn't understand the difference between a 5-second stop and go penalty and a 5-second penalty. He has to correct him over the radio during the race. Also, the fact too, when Sainz was clearly faster than Perez and he's passing him in the racing situation, and his engineer is just ripping into his ear, "Are you going to box now? Confirm." I'm like, dude, shut up, look at the screen and see that your boy is racing Perez right now, and get the hell out of his ear.
It's literally like this whole weekend. It was just an amateur show, and it was like quite embarrassing. Like, Ferrari is one of the most successful teams ever to race in Formula One. And yeah, that really bugged me. But anyways, we have to talk about some other key things that happened in this race. I think I really thought Toto's comments were really funny leading into the weekend, where this is just so much dominance of Ferrari and Red Bull, and then all of a sudden Mercedes is just slowly creeping up, as you talked about in it. And 2 great drives from Hamilton and Russell this weekend. Russell, this is the first time I think they're double podium together. This is Lewis Hamilton's 4th straight podium, and then this is George's first podium since Azerbaijan. So as I said, I think in the last week's episode, and I think Eric could quote me on this, is if Mercedes continues to still be successful and is still able to be consistent, like, there is a good chance that they can come P2 in this Constructors Championship.
And that'll be because of Ferrari's fault, in my opinion.
Exactly.
I don't think they're as fast as Ferrari or Red Bull. Like, as you said, they're creeping up. They're making changes to their car that's better performing for sure. But again, I just don't think they're as fast right now. But some indication of it that might change. So, like, George Russell on the safety car restart. I know Checo said that he got some misinformation, but man, George absolutely dummied Checo off the start. And honestly, I don't think Checo had a great week. I know he finished in fourth, but he coughed up a podium. I don't know if it's they're giving him a slow car or if he just didn't have the pace on the track this weekend. But it was he got absolutely dummied off the start by George, and that was key for the podium right there. But
Well, and then also you had
props to Mercedes, like they're rebuilt, like they had a lot of struggles at the beginning of the season, and I know struggles. They were still in the points, but like they just, they're just not dominant as they used to be. So it'll be fun. Like once Mercedes start getting back, then you're going to start seeing a 3-horse race for first place, and some really fun fights are going to happen on track.
Yeah, I was just also going to add, like, there was that good battle between Perez and Russell in the last final laps. Where if you remember listening to Perez's radio, it's just like, oh, he's off the line. Oh, he's off the line. He's off this. He's off this. He's off. They're literally trying to throw flags like our I don't know, investigations left, right, and center. You get an investigation. You get an investigation.
But likewise, so funny, like remember with George, right? When he completely dove in on Checo, apparently it wasn't George's fault, but he just kept blabbering over the radio, and literally Toto just was like about to say, "Shut up and raise." Just like stop complaining and get him back on track, which he was able to do. So a little bit of a learning moment there for George Russell, to stop complaining on track. It's okay. Because he's starting to become like the Hamilton meme where, it's on The Simpsons where it's like, hey, Lewis, say the line again. My tires are gone. It says, okay, George, say the line again. He completely turned in on me. Literally, that's what's going to become the next meme from the Mercedes garage.
Well, I don't know if you saw Valtteri Bottas. They're talking. There's something. I don't know if it was on F1 memes or something, but he's just like, oh yeah, that guy that hit me at Budapest. Was it at Budapest where Russell ran into
Imola?
Bottas? Imola. Oh, it was Imola. Yeah. I have to find it. It's really funny. What are the things that stood out this weekend for you? I mean, I already talked about how Alpine had a very good weekend for their home track. Fernando Alonso, he might be 40, but this is his 7th straight race in the points for the team.
Oh, he's looking on form, like really happy to have Alpine get a double points finish at their home GP.
Yeah,
that was huge. I actually just want to commend Sainz on the way he drove through the field. If he didn't have to serve that, if he didn't have that 5-second penalty, I think he would have finished third. You know what? Even when he had that 5-second penalty, if he didn't pit like his team said, he probably would have finished third. He had that much pace. Nevertheless,
well, they threw him on those softs last 10 laps, and he was just going at it.
Yeah, he's a man on a mission. I think this year, like he's had 4 retirements. Unfortunately, a lot of it due to reliability. But when he hasn't retired, he hasn't finished anywhere lower than 5th, which was this weekend because of a penalty. So again, reliability issues, solve it, and Ferrari have an amazing 1-2 duo. I want to commend Danny Rick getting another points finish. I think he was more closer to the pace to Lando this weekend than people are going to give him credit for, and that's where he's got to get to that level. I think Hungary is going to be a good race, and then the break is going to do wonders for him as well. And I have to shout out my boy Lance Stroll. Like I think he had a pretty good race this weekend, and finished P10. I know there was a little bit of contact incident with Vettel there at the
I was just about to say, I was like, you don't want to talk about the last.
No, we're not talking about that at all. Nope.
The last turn.
Nope. Not at all. Nope. It was clean racing. It was fine. Not a problem.
Next question, because this one's stupid.
Exactly. Next question, Barry Bonds.
Next question, because it was stupid.
But in all honesty, there's some Aston Martin scaring me a little bit. I think they're trying to get Vettel out of that team.
You think so?
I don't see.
I don't blame him, because like he doesn't feel. Maybe like I've always said this. Like he clearly wants. Like I clearly think he wants to be able to race. And he wants to be able to have like a competitive car. And obviously we've seen this year, the Aston Martin car is not competitive. Sorry. period. So,
And this is starting to look a lot like what happened with Danny Rick when he left.
Yeah.
To Renault. So I'm a little worried for him in that case.
Yeah. I don't did anything. I can't think of anything else that really stood out. We had a couple of retirements. Obviously, Leclerc. We had Magnussen. We had Yuki. We had Latifi again for
and
second
Joe
straight
getting
weekend.
screwed on another technical like, this guy is going to go down for the most technical DNFs ever. Like there was another technical issue with his engine that he had to go retire.
Yeah, he's had 4 retirements already this season.
Plus the one, I think he retired in France as well, so it was 5. Like 5 retirements this season, like 12, and he's not driving poorly. Like he's just getting screwed by the car.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I think that's clear. So yeah, I think a lot of eyes are going to continue to be on a couple of teams going into Hungary. We saw that mayhem on the first lap last year, and I don't know if we'll see. I think also, we've had a lot of unpredictable weather in a lot of races this season, which have made the races so much more interesting. And I think that was one of the questions. I think it was from Mitch, who runs our league, regarding why do you think the season's been kind of so dominant by one team? And obviously last year we saw a lot of teams on the podiums, whether if it was like Ferrari, we saw obviously Pierre Gasly was the year before, but saw Lando on the podium more and stuff. And I think the weather has really played a factor in some of these younger drivers that don't know how to play the rain, and it really gives the experience to some of the people. And especially if you don't have a reliable car, you're not going to score the podiums like the Ferrari and Red Bulls will.
I think a lot of it had to do too. So I don't know. Yeah.
We're on fan questions. I guess I should have said that.
We can read intermittently. So this was a tough question to answer, in my opinion, because at the beginning of the season, I thought so too. I thought a lot of shit was going to be more even. I thought there's going to be 10 race winners this season because of all the new regulation changes and everything like that. There's only been 4.
Yeah, you're like 6 more away.
Yeah, 6 more away, right? Nobody has won a race other than Ferrari or Red Bull, right? Red Bull, I'm very impressed with the fact that they were able to turn think about Mercedes and Red Bull last season, right? Competing to the end for the constructors and for the drivers' world championship, right? One team has been able to turn around that car and prevail, and that's with the technical directive of Adrian Newey and Red Bull versus the Ferraris. The Ferraris, Mercedes and Ferrari combined there. But compared to Mercedes, who haven't been able to really hone another car, they're starting to do it now. But I think it has to do a lot with the human expertise in this, and how R&D is run, I think, with a lot of these teams. And I know there's a cost cap, but I think there's just, in a way, better R&D development has already been there at these bigger, more established constructors. But we're starting to see teams jump up in the midfield, for instance, though, Alpine is now P4 in the constructors. Big jumps. McLaren has dropped back. They got to figure out how to work that car, and that's on their team, right? That's on the human expertise of that team to get it to go well. And but seeing Haas P7, right, from being not even scoring a point last year, they got 34 this season. I think they did a great job of really boosting this 2022 car, and it should be really interesting to see how Magnussen does this weekend in Hungary with the upgrade package, because he's the only one getting it, because they can only afford one at this time because Mick has crashed so much.
Yeah,
that but to be fair, he's gained his confidence back, starting to find points. But I agree in the fact that he doesn't deserve the upgrades right now because he hasn't cost the team that much money, right? He's cost the team all that money. K-Mag hasn't in that case. So it's a good question, to determine, because again, at the beginning of the season, we all I thought there was going to be 10 different race winners. It's only been 2 teams that have won races.
Yeah, but I would also like to add, we have definitely seen some differences in this season. Obviously we talked about how Haas is able to get some of those points, and like all of a sudden Alfa Romeo is now 6 in the constructors. And just seeing the disappointment going on at AlphaTauri, even with a driver like Pierre Gasly. Sure, it's been Red Bull and Ferrari dominance, but like we've obviously in the midfield, we've seen it a little bit more competitive between the teams. Maybe it doesn't really show in the podiums and the wins, but I think we're seeing some still incredible racing and drivers that are still giving it all, even if they're like P19 on the grid.
Because even outside of like every race has had Red Bull, Ferrari, and Mercedes in the podium, except Imola, where Lando was part of the podium. So there been a 3-team race for podium other than like that one race at Imola. So again, those three constructors are really honed in on those cars sort of to begin with. But I can see Alpine making a charge, right? They finished double points 4 of their last 5 races. And, consistency is just key, and they can consistently battle in the midfield. It's going to give them more money for next season to invest in their team, and they're going to only go up from there. Like, who knows this weekend? They may have another resurgent win like they did last year. I know like luck is on their side with the initial crash, but Ocon held off Vettel for all laps to win the race, right? So who knows? They can win this weekend, if anything, right? Just depending on, it's supposed to be a wet qualifying on Saturday, so that will be a grid mix-up, that's for sure. And then if it rains on Sunday, it's anyone's game, as we'd seen from last year.
Yeah, it will definitely be an interesting track, and I think regardless, leading into this weekend, one of the questions I got, well, actually, we saw some pretty big F1 news. This weekend, not even this weekend, literally, I think it came out today, where Porsche are buying a huge stake in Red Bull's F1 team. And now it's official, because we've been hearing that Porsche is wanting to come back into Formula One. And, according to documents published, that, Porsche's intention is to acquire 50% stake in the Red Bull's team. And could only imagine what Porsche can bring to the table to an already competitive world championship car like Red Bull's is.
So I think it's to do with the powertrain. So Red Bull powertrains, because the engine regulation's frozen until 2025. So when the new F1 engines come out in terms of manufacturing, that's when Porsche is really going to be involved with Red Bull powertrain. So this is a great move. It's great to see Porsche back in the game of F1. And because you just mentioned being with a powerhouse like Red Bull, I can only imagine what's going to happen from there. Going to be a very good partnership, and then that might open the door for Audi to come back in the game too, because they've been discussions of that. Maybe they partner with another team, or maybe they add their own F1 team as well. So really interesting to see that down the road. But yeah, very, very big news.
Yeah, I just trying to check when Porsche was actually in Formula One, and it looks like it was only in the 50s, late 50s and early 60s. And they had 1 year in 1991. Was their last race. So yeah, it'll be interesting to kind of see how that comes once the details kind of be kind of spread out.
They have been making waves in Formula E. So being a constructor there. So really an interesting job, and then just kind of, I guess, building up to F1 in that case. So I would like to see, it'd be fun to see Audi come back and Audi come into Formula One, see if they either combine with a team, if they partnership with a team, or, create their own team and have 22 cars in the grid as opposed to 20 only.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing is because I think a lot of the tracks only have 20 spots. So we always talk about how we're already, because of how big the new cars are compared to last year's car, and hear all these complaints about oh my goodness, there's so much traffic on the track. I can only imagine if they have 22, 24 cars on the track, it'll be a mayhem.
This is funny watching like turn ones of most of these races, and all like these boats are going into the turn one at such a slow speed. It's like how none of them crash is beyond me or like touch. It's unbelievable.
Oh, and then if you go online, literally it's like a bumper cart derby every first turn on everything. Sorry to all the people I've played online with, because I've been involved with a lot of those crashes. Anyways, what else do you have your eyes on going into Hungary next weekend, or in 3 days actually?
Well, I'm interested to see some of the dynamic between drivers and pundits, because Teddy Kravitz dropped the mic a couple of days ago with this comment about Michael Massey's firing, and how Michael Massey being fired is he was the sole reason why Hamilton lost his eighth World Drivers' Championship and gave Max his first, because he couldn't follow his own rules. And I thought that was hilarious. Just Ted Kravitz. You know, we're more than halfway into this season, and he's bringing up the past, dropping the mic. So I'm really interested to see if he's going to get any response from Max this week, if they do any interviews or not.
Yeah, I think that's definitely an interesting. It's I mean, Michael Massey's like your best friend, isn't he?
Oh yeah, we go way back. Mr. Moneybags himself.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I think for me is I'm curious to see if we hear any more driver announcements. Because now we're starting to the period where it's the last race. Also, we're going to go into the summer season, so obviously we might hear more in the summer. But like, I don't know if any teams are going to make any announcements a week like during the race weekend or leading up to it.
Well, wasn't there? Okay, so there's some interesting comments going on with regards to next year's car regulation. So I read a report, I don't know if it was motorsport.com or somewhere, where Mercedes are trying to push for a change in the floor regulations in 2023 so that their car can become more competitive. And really, it's only a way for Mercedes to benefit and not any other team to, when doing these 2023 regulations. But what I thought was interesting is that they had a list of teams that have gone against this kind of like proposed event, or like they're, you know, like they're forming like a coalition to go against. And Williams ended up being one, who is our engine, who's Mercedes is their engine supplier. Mm-hmm. So I almost wonder if this push from Williams from Mercedes to Renault is going to be happening earlier than not, because you know traditionally you don't want to go against your engine manufacturer on these types of situations, right? Because you don't want to be pissing off the people you do business with in that case.
Because because some of the kind of like we already saw this in a couple of years ago because Red Bull had a Renault's engine, if I'm not mistaken, and then there's that whole spiel leading up to that their end. Red Bull was accusing Renault for giving them like a crappy engine, and then they just cut the deal mid-season.
Yeah, so I'm thinking with this change to Renault and kind of everything going on, you know, especially with discussions of Alpine and Piastri being the reserve driver, Nicky Latifi might be shown the door from his F1 seat next season, and Oscar Piastri might go to Williams. It's looking more so that might be the case, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. Just based on the set of events. So I may be wrong. I hope I'm wrong, because I love seeing Latifi, you know, good Canadian guys in F1, but unfortunately he's just not competing at a level right now that his teammate is. Yeah. And you know that, you know, F1's all about results. And of course, so should be interesting to see.
Yeah, I don't think we've had a lot of back-to-back races this season, so it'll be kind of nice to have a race this weekend.
Yeah, final race before the summer break too. So let's see how it goes.
Any last parting words to kind of lead into for Hungary next week?
Big pressure on Ferrari. If they really want to turn this around, they have to wake up and they have a capability to win the remaining races of the year. It's if the fact that their car is reliable enough, no more driver mistakes, and that the strategy is on point. 3 key factors going forward in this season for them to really be able to hold up to the Constructors' Championship, because if they're not careful, Mercedes is going to creep up, and they might take that P2 spot over Ferrari.
Mm-hmm.
So that is kind of what to look for this weekend, in my opinion.
Yeah, we have a lot to. There's going to be a lot to see. I think consistency is a key thing for Ferrari. Reliability, ensuring that both drivers work together and score major points in the constructors. Be interesting to see if Mercedes continues on that, and just see if some of the drivers that are on severe pressure towards the bottom of the tiers, if they flat out can't race this weekend. So I think there's a lot going on in this. Also, I forgot to say this, but I never actually said this. Make sure to follow us on social media. I forgot to give us our shout out. Right, we're on YouTube, Instagram, Spotify, and Apple Music. And we really love all the fan questions that we got, because there's some good stuff here today. And we really appreciate everything that we get from our fans. So thank you.
So looking forward to the Hungarian GP this weekend at Hungaroring, as I was at Budapest. Then we'll be off for a month, but never to fear. We will have our mid-season recap and review podcast coming before the Belgian Grand Prix. So we'll do 2 episodes. We'll have a review of the Hungarian Grand Prix, and then we'll have our mid-season preview, where we'll get to look at our predictions for the mid-season so far and see how we're doing, but also take a look at what to look for the final, I think 9 races of the season after Hungary. So with that said, thank you everybody for listening to season 2, episode 14 of the F1 podcast. My name is Andrew Cleary. He is Jonathan Ricci.
Hello.
And we would like to say thank you for listening. Again, don't forget to follow us on Instagram, follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and subscribe to Ricci's YouTube page. Again, like and subscribe. Enjoy the race this weekend. Should be a doozy.